Hey there. About a week ago, I had a dream. I don't dream often, but this one kind of stuck out to me. In this dream, I saw what I can only describe as an undying king, a skull with a mouth made of a hand reaching out to me. His body was covered by the pained grasping of disembodied hands. Not really too sure what that was supposed to mean, but I figured I'd try to recreate him. So, let's see if we can make what I can only describe as a Gundam head from G Gundam having sex with a piece of Beksinski artwork. Let's get to it. Alright, so here's the base of the project. And here's the actual base of the project. It's some paper clips that I've interlocked together and wrapped around with aluminum foil. That way, so when I start using sculpting putty, I don't use too much of it. Next up are going to be the skull and the demon hand that I used to make each of the heads. While I was printing up everything, I also printed up one of these tiny little crowns. Not sure if I'm going to be using it, but while I'm printing everything, might as well. And the major print was a bunch of these tiny little arms. I ended up cutting off about half of them while I was using them, but when I say I printed a lot, I mean I printed a lot. What I'm showing here is only half of what I ended up using. I had to print a lot more. First up was getting everything off the sprues. Used clippers on anything that was important, and then since the back half of this hand is going to be covered anyways, I just decided to rip it. Now I knew the skull was going to need a little bit of fixing up, so when it came down to removing it from the sprue, I just decided to tear that off as well. Regardless of how well I clipped it, I wanted to smooth it out, so I figured I'd go ahead and save some time on the cutting part. Here I'm just using an X-Acto knife to get all the large bumps. I'm not worried about sanding everything out right now, I'm about to start gap filling. For gap filling a small area like this, I decided to just use super glue, let it dry, and then file and sand it smooth. Opting for super glue here instead of a proper modeling putty allows me to keep working fast. I don't like sitting around waiting for putties and glues and all that to dry. And now that all the gap filling is done, I decided to take my clippers and clip the jawbone right where it meets the cheekbone. I don't need the lower portion of the jaw, and it just ended up being in the way. Luckily, when I clipped it, it cracked right between where the teeth would meet, making removal pretty damn easy. Now here I initially planned to drill a hole in the back of the skull and attach it to that little bit of paperclip I had left on the armature, but later on you see I don't end up using it, so I kind of just wasted my time here. I'm going to go ahead and attach the skull to the hand with a little bit of gel super glue, and after it dries I throw some more super glue around the edges just to make sure everything is secure while I'm handling it. And now I break out the green stuff. When working with green stuff, it's important to remove the little bit where the blue and the yellow meet, because that part's already hardened, and when you're kneading it's just going to end up being a little rock inside of what you're trying to make. My initial plan was to place the green stuff onto the head and insert the paperclip there and have it cure like that, and then I realized that just wasted way too much fucking time. So what I ended up doing was super gluing the armature to the head and using the green stuff to mold around it, so that way when it cured it would keep everything nice and secure. Can't forget about the second head here too. And here I'm prepping all the arms and hands for attachment. I could have printed them a little bit shorter, but honestly I just didn't feel like cropping the STL. It was like 4 o'clock when I printed these, and you just don't really give a shit at that time. Alrighty, putting on gloves for Milliput work. You work it the same way as green stuff, but in my opinion, green stuff is a little hard to sand. Milliput dries rock hard, and honestly I prefer working with it because you can smooth it out with water very well. I prefer to use gloves when working with Milliput because while you're adding water to it, it leaves this residue behind that just drives me absolutely batshit crazy trying to get off my hands. Here I'm trying to place the Milliput in a way to make the skull and the hand blend together, and then I use some water and this sculpting tool to help smooth it all out. Or at least I think it's a sculpting tool. I have no idea where I got it or what it actually does. All I know is it sculpts decently well. It's not like a specialized skull or like clay working tool, but you know, it fucking works, so whatever. Here I'm taking some of the spare Milliput that I mixed up and I'm using it to reinforce the central body made of aluminum foil. As it is right now, it's a little too flimsy to be working on it, much less attaching a bunch of hands to it. But this Milliput covering / case addition will give it the rigidity it needs to work on it. So the main way I went about attaching these hands is that I would position them initially with super glue, and then afterwards I would put a little bit of Mod Podge underneath to help give it a second layer of stability. I would usually wait until I was done with all of the hands for a ring section around the body, and then apply all of the Mod Podge as is. How it was applied wouldn't really interfere with the super glue for the next set of hands, so although it was a steady process, it took quite a while. I did this over the course of a couple nights, on and off. Another thing to note is that when I was attaching these hands, the new season of Diablo 3 was going to be starting in a few days, and I was hoping I could finish before then so I could not be as distracted playing Diablo 3. I like Diablo 3. It's fairly fun. I'm more of a Diablo 2 kind of person, but I find when it comes to playing Diablo 2 these days, it gives me headaches. So with the whole new season rotation coming through, I find it's pretty easy to just pick up and play it with some friends. But Diablo 2 is where my heart lies, and here's to hoping Diablo 4 is as good as Diablo 2, but twice as good. Now as you can see here, all of the heads go in one direction, but when it came down to the other head, I wanted another arm collar like the first head had. So I just alternated the flow of hands for the next one and decided to cover where they conjoined with some old jewelry chain I had sitting around. Just a few wraps and a little super glue along the way to keep it all in place. Somewhere along the line I decided, yeah, I'm gonna use that crown I printed. Why not? It's a little big, but I think it's kinda cute. And now that the crown is on, it's time to move on to failed idea number 1. Now if you don't know what the hell this is some of that nasty warped flesh that I did a tutorial on a couple videos ago. I considered putting it on as sort of like a wedding veil kind of ordeal, but after positioning it a little bit, it kind of just looked like some old grandma or George Washington if he came from hell. So I decided, you know, fuck it, remove it, clean it off with a little bit of a Q-tip and, you know, a little bit of spit. Bit of a ramble here, but I meant to use some water on the Q-tip whenever I cleaned off this glue. I kind of felt like, you know, like when you get something on your face and your mom's like, come here, you little shit, and she like puts some spit on her finger and wipes it off. I don't know, for some reason it always bothered me. Like, Mom, Jesus, stop. That's disgusting. And I feel like I'm the mom doing that to my nasty little skull boy. I'm sorry. Shortly after I posted the tutorial on the warped flesh, I had someone recommend to me another variation of making this sort of effect. What you do is you put a little PVA glue or Mod Podge down and throw some super glue on top of it. And I got a brush bottle just because that's all I've got. But anyways, what happens is while the super glue is drying, you can use a toothpick or something to kind of mold and sculpt the super glue, which binds to the PVA. I used this method to make sort of a rough skin that blended the hand into the skull, and honestly this was pretty cool. So you know who you are, and thank you for showing me this, because this is really neat. With everything said and done, I took it outside to give it a spray with black primer and then a spray of white primer from the top. Now, failed idea number 2. I figured since it was all white, I could use some brown wash and kind of tint everything very lightly into a bone color that I liked. Now, while it did give me a color that I liked, no matter how hard I tried to apply this with any concentration of brown wash that was realistic, I could not get into any of the small crevices that I had left behind, and I eventually scrapped this idea. So after it dried, I took it back outside and just hit the entire damn thing with black primer, making sure to get into those crevices that were giving me so much trouble. Now with a brand spanking new black primer base coat, I decided to take some of Games Workshop's Wraithbone and give it sort of a mixture between a dry brush and an overbrush. I know you're mainly supposed to use Wraithbone as a base coat for their contrast paints, but honestly I just really like the color. I use it a lot for a bunch of things. What it gave me was an effect that I really liked and was more in line with what I originally had. And with this dry brushing, you can really see the texture on the cheek areas that I was talking about earlier. It came out super good. Here I'm just using a little white, pure white, from Vallejo, just to hit the higher portions and the sharp features on the skulls, like the cheekbones and the nose bones. And here I'm just using a gold paint to base coat the crown. In this case, it's Retributor armor from Citadel. A quick detour here to fix my broken brush. I thought putting a piece of paperclip in the middle would be sufficient, but I'm going to opt for some super glue, some duct tape, give it a little wrap around, and there you go, one fixed brush. Now I'm just taking some of that Agrax Earthshade and giving a wash to all the gold details that I just painted. I wanted to differentiate the texture that I had sculpted on earlier, so I took some more Agrax Earthshade and watered it down quite a bit and threw it into the sculpted flesh that I made there. It's subtle and you can't really see it, but it's good enough. Now the base that I initially used ended up becoming too small, so this is an old Dreadnought base that I bought off my friend Nathan. It's got some holes in it from whatever the hell he did to it. So I'm going to take some of this painter's tape, throw it over the holes, and use some PVA glue to keep it all secure. It's not the most secure. For anything important or heavy, I wouldn't do this method, but for my boy here, it ended up working just fine. Alright, second try with this warped flesh. I'm just gonna throw it all over the base, not really thinking about it. And frankly, I half-assed this base a little bit. I kind of meant to do something different with it, but at this point, I was hitting that project fatigue, and I was kind of ready to be done. But on the other hand, I kind of wanted to give it a second shot, so it works out. A quick break to eat this chocolate snack pack. I hadn't had a snack pack in like 10 years, maybe? I don't know. You ever seen BalloonShop?
Dude, I did not eat your snack pack.
That's snack pack, man. Snack pack.
Snack pack.
Snack pack.
Snack pack.
Snack pack.
Pack.
Snack pack.
Snack pack. Snack pack.
This makes me, that's the video that comes to mind immediately. Anyways, I'm finished with this. Let's get back to it. Here I'm taking an assortment of bright colors and coloring in the gemstones on the crown. I went with the tried and true red, blue, yellow, green color scheme that you see in every multiplayer video game ever. Blue used to be my favorite color when I was younger, but I was the younger brother, so I was always second player. When my brother left the house, man, you bet your ass I was glad about having first player. Whenever I was young as shit, way too young to be playing Mortal Kombat, my brother would always win and he'd do some kind of fatality, and I'd be like, oh man, how do you do fatalities? And he'd be like, one, I ain't gonna tell you, and two, you're never gonna win, so what's the point? Like, yeah, okay, you're right, but damn, I just want to know how to rip someone's spine out, man. Is that too much to ask? I painted the base mostly the same as the way I did in my tutorial video. Nothing real special to go over there. Whenever I was done putting all the colors on the base, I took some Reichland Flesh shade, or any kind of warm brown shade would do. Watered it down a bit, covered the base, and painted my base rim, and he was all done. Alright, yeah, check this out. Spinning close-up shot. I'm so glad I got this thing. It makes the final presentation for these models so much better. But anyways, this is the finished boy. He looks a little flat in some areas, but I think it's okay. It's kind of the aesthetic I had in my head, and I'm glad for the most part I've managed to put it onto this mini. It's like 95% there. It's exactly what I saw in my head, and I like it. He's, for lack of a better word, very cute to me. As for a name, after my Flesh Golem painting video, I decided, you know, this golem needs a name. And after consulting with some wise minds, we settled on Brittany. So, Brittany the Flesh Golem. For this boy right here, for some reason, I was thinking of a coat of arms because his body is nothing but hands and arms. So it got me thinking about heraldry. And in heraldry, one side, or I guess the right side of the heraldic shield is called the Dexter side. And given the fact that he is accidentally made of nothing but right hands, I think Dexter is a very fitting name, and I couldn't imagine any other name for him. I'd just like to say thank you for watching the video and coming along with this build diary of sorts. I'm going to, get back on Diablo 3. I want to try to finish. I've never gotten all the way through the season. I got a barbarian most of the way last season, but now I'm rocking a demon hunter, and I'm determined to make it to the end. So wish me luck, and thank you for watching.